All right. Welcome, everyone. So I am connected here with Rob. And Rob, we just met today for the first time, face to face.
Right.
And I want to let everybody know kind of how this came about. So a couple days ago, I received an email from a guy named Joseph, and he mentioned you. And I think he was maybe interested in possibly you going to Antarctica with the final experiment. And he said in his final email to me that you would, talk to anybody on the globe side, anytime, anywhere, me, Professor Dave, anybody.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I reached out to you because I thought we should have a conversation. And it was just an interesting way of being introduced to someone. And so, yeah, I am excited to meet you and also talk to you about the final experiment and get your thoughts. So, do you want to kind of introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah. My name's Rob. Like I, when we had this conversation a day or two ago, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm on the fence. I'm teeter-tottering. My whole life, I believe the earth was a globe. And today I'm not so sure because there's so much information out there now that's talking about a flat earth that really does make a lot of sense to me. I'm still not thoroughly convinced that the earth is not a globe. But I don't know, these flat earth guys really they seem to have a pretty good argument. So,
Cool. Yeah. So, I created the final experiment as a way of ending this debate and settling this debate. So, if you're on the fence, this will be kind of cool for you. I think it would be good for us to start talking about Antarctica
absolutely.
because that's a big, huge difference between the globe model and the flat Earth model. And so it's very simple. On the globe model, Antarctica is this island at the bottom of the ball. On the flat Earth model, I'll let you talk. What is Antarctica?
Well, the way they say it, that Antarctica is as a matter of fact, I've got to pick up the flat earth map and bring it over here, will you please? I've got a flat earth map. I've got a flat version of the global map. I've got them all. Um, but if here, bring it up a little bit closer. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Uh, this would be considered Antarctica. Okay, this would be, in other words, if you took your globe model, if you took the globe model and you opened it from the bottom and came out this way, now you end up with an ice wall around the world. Okay, does that make sense?
It
Now
does.
that's the flat Earth theory. That's what I'm hearing from from the flat Earth people. Um, I I've got a couple of questions about the Antarctica where the sun is going to be shining. Is it a situation where, I mean, like if you're looking at a sundial, for instance, and you're looking at 12 o'clock on a sundial, the sun is supposed to be right over the top of it. And that's where you get 12 o'clock. And then as the sun moves around, it kind of turns and twists a little bit. And all of a sudden, you begin to get that shadow that puts it on a certain time. I don't understand it completely. But if the sun is in Antarctica and you're going to have 24 hours straight of sunlight, with the time zones being so close together, okay, because let's face it, at the equator is the widest point of the time zone. How do you get, how do you calculate 24 hours in, in Antarctica when the lines are like I mean, that's where the lines start. Like if you went to the North Pole, it would be the same deal. You go to the South Pole, it does the same thing. The lines are so close together. Now, I know you could look at a clock and you could gauge it. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. We'll stay all night. We'll watch it. It'll be 2 o'clock again tomorrow. But if the sun is shining for 24 hours in Antarctica and the sun is right above you at 12 o'clock, that to me would mean that the sun is only shining on one half of the earth.
Hmm.
In other words, we wouldn't get light in North America. We wouldn't get light in Canada. Everything would be on the southern end of the equator. So if we're going to get light for 24 hours in Antarctica, And we know that the sun cannot shine around a curve. I mean, it's not going to veer out. I mean, I was watching some videos the other day and it just didn't make any sense to me. But how do we get light in North America as the globe begins to go back up?
Mm,
It would have to be, I mean, for me, the common sense way of looking at it would be if you're looking straight up at the sky and you're looking at the sun in Antarctica, how could the sun shine in the United States
mm. Yeah, I
over
think I
24 hours? I mean, if all the sunlight is concentrated on the southern part of the globe, have you got your globe, Joseph? Let me see your globe. Yeah, let me see that. Okay, I'm trying to stay focused. This is the first time I've ever done a Zoom call, so please.
okay.
Okay, so
No.
we're looking at Antarctica here.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're standing. So I guess the trip it's going to be around here somewhere, right? Aren't you guys kind of on the tip edge of Antarctica? Where you
No,
going?
we're gonna be almost at 80 degrees south,
Okay.
to the south of the southern tip of South America.
Okay. Now I am taking into consideration that there is a tilt to the Earth. It's on an axis. I get that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if the sun is in Antarctica for 24 hours straight, once it hits the Earth, well, keep in mind here, as the Earth turns back around, it begins to turn back. How would that, if you've got 24 hours of sunlight here, basically Antarctica has dominated the sun. How do we get it here when the light doesn't travel around the Earth? The Earth has
Sure.
to turn towards the light. And I'm asking you a question because I don't
Yeah.
know this.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to explain it to you. Okay, so before I show you my trusty globe
Okay.
here, um, do you agree that from a geometric standpoint, light can only light up half of a sphere?
Okay. Um, Now I've heard, let me answer that the best way I know how, because I've heard different things. Like if I look at the moon at night and the sun is shining on the moon, the reason we get half a moon is because that's the only part of the light that's hitting the moon because the earth and the moon is supposed to be between the sun. So when you have the moon and the sun is blocking part of the light from the moon, that's where you get a quarter, half moon, man on the moon. But when it's not blocking the moon, you get a full moon. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a similar principle. A single light source lighting up a sphere can only light up half of the sphere.
Right. I agree with that.
So, so with the sun in the globe model being a single light source, it can only light up half of this sphere right here.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this to you. So, globes, when you buy them, they come tilted because in the globe model, there's an axial tilt of about 23 and a half degrees. Okay.
Okay. I thought it was 28, but that's okay. I thought
So
it was 28.
it's okay. So this globe that I have here is tilted at those degrees. And
Right. So
so
so it's all the scale. I mean, what you've got in your hand is basically the scale. So
yeah,
if you set it on a table, like the globe I've got here, it's set to scale on the tilt of the Earth.
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Now the earth spins, okay?
Okay.
And so as I spin this earth here, you will see Antarctica the entire time.
Right.
Okay, that's where this 24-hour sun is coming from. Like there's Australia right there, and then there's Africa. And so right now in this example, the sun's here lighting up this half. Australia is dark,
Okay.
but you can still see Antarctica because of the tilt.
Okay.
Then
But
there,
this is,
and
I
then
see what you're saying. I
okay,
see what
cool.
you're
And
saying.
then there
But
we have North America and South America.
right.
Now, there is a portion in the globe model on the north side, all the way at the North Pole, that would have 24 hours of darkness, while Antarctica has 24 hours of sunlight.
Okay, but this is my question. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
So if I am standing in Antarctica, where
Hmm.
that little stub is that goes to the bottom of your globe, and I look straight up at the sky, and will I see the sun directly above me? And if I
No.
do see this, you won't see it. So it'll be turned, it'll be at a different So I can't look straight up like this and look at the sun. I'd have to look
Well,
here, or I'd have to look over here. It would have to be angled. Is that what you're saying? So I can't look at the 12 o'clock and see a sun directly above me. Is that right?
so the sun in Antarctica, if the globe model is accurate, which I think it is, actually would do circles above people in Antarctica. It would
Okay.
never be directly above that person.
Okay. So it would never. So I can't look straight up and say, okay, well, it's 12 o'clock. So I'm going to have to look closer towards, say, 9:30, 10 o'clock, opposed to 1:30, 2 o'clock. And that's going to be the distance that we're on. And that's about the height. Like we're in North America right now. You look at I mean, in the middle of the summertime, if you look at the sun at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's kind of going down. Okay. I mean, you can see it at about 2 o'clock. If you're looking at a clock, okay, just, like 12, 6, 9 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. Okay. It'll be at about 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock, depending on the time of day. But I will see it directly above me. I'll see it at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It's directly above me. Okay. But you're saying you're not going to see that in Antarctica. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
there's the reason the sun goes up and down visually through the sky, at least on the globe model, is because of the fact that it's a sphere. So there's terms like solar noon and solar midnight. And so solar noon is where the sun is the highest in the sky, and solar midnight is would be where it's the lowest for an observer, which most of the time for most of the people on Earth is not even visible. It's dropped below the horizon. But in Antarctica during the southern summer, solar midnight, the sun is still above the horizon. It's just lower than where it was at solar noon.
Okay. You getting all that, Joseph?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Um, Let me just think about this for a few minutes. Now, I've got a couple of questions. And you being a pastor is definitely a person I want to ask this question to because I have a great deal of respect for you guys. I read the Bible, and the Bible tells me that when God set the earth, he set the earth unmovable. It, as far as the Bible is concerned, that the earth does not turn.
Mhm.
The earth is on a foundation, all right? And there is no movement to the earth. I know that they say that the earth and the sun and the moon and everything is flying through space. Now I've read three different numbers. I've got 450,000 miles per hour. I've got 515,000 miles per hour, and I've got 640,000 miles per hour. So there seems to be a contradiction.
Mhm.
Okay, if God put the earth and put it in a stable, non-moving place, how do we fly through space? And this, and I guess this is part of my deal. I mean, I trust NASA knows a lot of things. There's no question about it.
Mhm.
I listen to a few other global Earth people, and they make a lot of sense. The problem is if God put the Earth and He put all this around us and kept the Earth in one place. How can they say that we're flying through space at so many hundreds of thousands of miles per hour, and that the Earth is turning from west to east or east? I forget which one it is, but I mean, I think it'd be from west to east, wouldn't it? From west, yeah, because the sun
Yes.
goes back. Um, and that's kind of, I'll be honest with you. About 8 months ago, my mother called me, and we had this conversation. And, I think I told you on the phone, I've got 11 brothers and 5 sisters. My mom and dad have been married for 60 some odd years, and had 17 children together. Now, all my brothers think I'm crazy. I thought my mom was kind of going, she's got the age. I'm thinking, okay, guys, it's maybe time to check mom in, I mean. But then I've always respected my mother and what she says. And she bought this flat earth thing up to me. And that's where I started kind of researching it and getting to know it. So I've only been involved in this for about 7 or 8 months. Um, but a lot of what they're saying on the flat earth model, I get how they say this, I get how they say the sun moves. Okay. They say that the sun doesn't go up and down, the sun moves further away. Would make sense to me in the wintertime, because if the sun moves, say, 5 million miles closer to Earth, it would burn us up. If the sun moved 5 million miles further away from Earth, it would cool us down. So that there are just things that I really don't understand, and that absolutely being one of them. Does it make sense to me on a flat Earth model? Yes, it does, because on a flat Earth model, they don't believe where that the Earth is turning. They believe that the sun is going around the Earth. But then I've got Genesis in the Bible that tells me that the sun and the moon and the stars are inside of the firmament, which is considered heaven. And above that, we've got the oceans. So I beg the question, how can we send a satellite into space through heaven? I mean, I've talked to people about moon landings. I believed in the moon landing for a long time, but then I said to a friend of mine the other day, a guy, David, that goes to church with us. I said, Dave, I said, man, you're a scientist. I said, answer this for me. I said, do you believe that we can make it to heaven on a space shuttle? He said, no way. You have to pass away before your soul can go to heaven. I said, well, you and I agree. I said, but here at Genesis, I said in the Dewey Reams, I said, it tells me that the earth, the moon, and the stars are in heaven. So how could we make that trip to the moon if the moon is considered to be in heaven? Now, there's different ways that people look at it. I mean, the Dewey Reams it doesn't say heavens. It's not plural. It's singular. I mean, it doesn't. It's heaven, not the heavens. You know what I mean? Now, Joseph, you and I have talked about different levels of heaven and so on and so forth, and I do believe that. But there's just that thing that says, Rob, I'm not saying that they're lying, but what I am saying is, explain to me how we have a satellite out in space that's been out there since 1972, that's sending back all these images from our solar system, from outside of the solar system, and all this craziness that's going on out there, when it would have to have gone through heaven to get there. I mean, did it snap a few shots of heaven on its way? I mean, think about it. I mean, when it all comes down to it. So that's the reason I say, is it a flat earth? Do we have, I think I was listening to, I was watching your video this morning, and I noticed that and I'm not asking you your opinion on this, because Professor Dave's obviously, I guess, is a friend of yours, so I'm not asking you to pick sides in either way. But he did bring up the fact that there is no firmament around the earth, mm-hmm. which I think that most Bibles tells us that there is. Now, whether it be a firmament over a flat earth or whether it be a firmament over a global earth, there is a firmament. Because I would assume that your Bible would say that.
Yeah, we have to we have to interpret what we think that word means and what it meant when it was written thousands of years ago. So here's the deal. When it comes to the Bible, we have two things that we have to consider. One is, are we talking about something that the Bible says happened in the past? Or are we talking about something that we can see and interact with in the present? Past events are difficult to fully discover and understand because we can't travel back to the past. Okay. So if the Bible talks about something some king did thousands of years ago, we can look into that and look for evidence and think about it, but we can't ever go back and see exactly what was going on. So when it comes to our earth, the realm that we live in, our reality, that is something that we can actually observe and test and verify. And so I am not willing to take an interpretation of the Bible that contradicts present day reality. That to me would be insanity.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this. In Genesis, and now these are God's words, when God created the earth, created everything. This goes all the way back to the creation. Now, and I'm not asking you to debate this. I'm asking you a question because you're probably smarter than I am when it comes to this kind of thing. Because I mean, this is your life. This is what you do. But when it says that, and He set them. Let me go back here. And God made two great lights, a greater light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And He set them in the firmament of heaven to shine upon the earth and to rule the day and the night and to divide the light and the darkness. And God saw this was good. I can't imagine, and by no means am I telling you that you're wrong, okay? So please, let's not go in that direction. I would have to believe that God put the firmament, God put heaven in the firmament. I would have to believe that God covered the firmament with water, with the oceans, because this is what God is saying. This is what he said he did. Um, so I have to believe in the Bible. I have to believe what it's telling me. And I know that over time things can change, and well, it doesn't really mean this or it doesn't really mean that. I mean, that's the reason. I mean, that's one of the main reasons, Joseph. I've told you this many times. The reason I won't pick up a Bible because it doesn't matter what I read here, because somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong over here. Well, now at 58 years old, one of my bucket list things to do is to read the Bible because I've never done it, and I've picked up several different Bibles. You know, they all basically say the same thing, but I just can't go against Genesis. I have to believe what it's telling me. Am I wrong for doing that? I don't think I
So
am. You know,
you are interpreting this word firmament a very specific way, and you're
absolutely.
interpreting it as some sort of a solid structure that has water on top of it.
Well, how I'm interpreting is like this. Exactly what the Bible's telling me is that you've got I didn't read all the way through it, but is that you've got the land, you've got the oceans on Earth, okay? You've got all the continents, you've got the seas, then you've got the atmosphere, then you've got the clouds, you've got all that. Then you have a dome. You have a firmament where it starts. Now, I don't know how high the firmament, I don't know where it starts, but I know that if we landed on the moon, and I'm not saying we didn't, I'm not saying we did either, but if we landed on the moon and we are told that the moon is 250,000 miles, it's between 250 and, excuse me, between 235 and 250,000 miles from Earth, is what they say. I would have to assume that if the Bible is telling me that the firm that the if science is telling me, let me back up here. If science is telling me that the moon is 250,000 miles from Earth, then I would have to believe that is somewhere close to where the firmament starts, which would be heaven, if the moon and the sun and the stars are in the firmament, is what Genesis is telling me. So maybe heaven starts at about 250,000 miles from where you and I are sitting. I mean, I'm not saying that. I think that the numbers are off with scientists. I think it could be way further than that because I can't imagine us having the ability, regardless to how smart we think we are, to ever have the knowledge to make it to the edge of heaven. I just have a hard time believing that. I think we
So,
could be much further than that.
yeah, Rob, something you need to consider is that the Old Testament, specifically Genesis, was originally written in Hebrew, right?
Right.
So right now, you and I are talking about an English word, firmament. The Hebrew word is rakia, and there are reputable resources that say that that should be translated as expanse. And so
I've
it's
seen
not
that. Yes,
it's
I've seen
not
that.
not necessarily referring to something solid or glass or crystalline, but it's referring to the expanse of the heavens. And so I think we need to be open to different ideas and interpretations of something that was written so long ago. But more
Absolutely.
importantly, we need to allow the reality of the world that we live in to also have a factor into how we're interpreting the Bible.
Okay.
Because just to throw this out there, if the Bible says the sky is green, but we observe a blue sky, maybe it doesn't, maybe this Hebrew word we're looking at really doesn't mean green. Maybe there's something that's been lost in translation over the years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my fear, is that people are going to choose an interpretation of the Bible that goes against reality, which is why the final experiment is so important.
Okay, so
because
let me ask you this.
yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Now, again, I don't believe the earth is flat 100%. I'm a little, like I said, I'm kind of teeter-tottering here, back and forth. Had a conversation with a scientist the other day, and I asked him this question. I said, okay, I said, I'm going to concede on this. I'm going to tell you that I believe that if the earth is a globe and I go for a walk, I'm not going to feel the curvature of the earth. I get that. I'm going to say that I believe that if I'm driving at 65, 70 miles an hour, which in Dallas, we all drive about 80 miles an hour, I said, I'm not going to feel the curvature there either. I said, even if I was in a jet doing 500 miles an hour, I'm probably not going to feel it very much. But if I am on the North Pole, Will, you and I are sitting on the moon. All right. Let's pretend you and I are sitting on the moon. And we're able to look back and look at Earth. And we've got front row seats with these high resolution cameras. Okay. And we're watching the Earth. And we've got these cameras that are zoomed in on the North Pole. And we've got the space shuttle that now I did find out says that it can fly in our atmosphere at 17,000 miles per hour, 17,500 miles per hour. So if that space shuttle takes off from the North Pole at 17,000 miles an hour, and you and I are watching this, and that space shuttle takes off and it gets up to a height, and all of a sudden it's at 17,500 miles an hour, it would take it probably about 38 to about 46 minutes to make it from the North Pole to the South Pole. Tell me, please, or explain this to me, okay? How, if you and I are watching this on video, our perception of what we're seeing, that space shuttle would have to be upside down when it went to the bottom. It would have to be. I mean, there's no way around it. Would they feel the curvature of the earth at that speed? 17,500. I mean, I could be in, it'd take me longer to get to Gainesville, just the border of Texas and Oklahoma. That takes an hour, 60 miles an hour. Let's say it's about the same time to about Sanger. The space shuttle would make it from the North Pole to the South Pole quicker than I could make it to Sanger, Texas, which is about 45 miles away from me. What would our perception be at that point watching this space shuttle travel at such a very fast? I mean, I'll put it to you this: I don't know how long you and I have been talking, but I mean, from when you originally called me today, the space shuttle would have been there by now. How would they not feel the curvature of the Earth if the Earth is a curve?
When you say how
I
would
know
they
it's funny. I know it's funny. I get it. It's okay. You can
no,
laugh.
it's okay.
I'm not
I
going to
don't
take it
I
personally.
honestly don't understand what you're saying. If they're not on the earth, they're not going to feel the curvature of the earth for starters.
But if they're flying, listen to me now. If they're, let's say they're flying 20,000 feet above the Earth,
Hmm.
they would still, even at 20,000 feet, let's say they're 20,000 feet
Hmm.
here, and they're flying at 17,500 miles an hour, they would have to feel. I mean, it would be like a roller coaster. That trip is so fast at such a high speed, it would be like a roller coaster ride for you and me sitting here on Earth.
Well, yeah,
I know. It seems kind of
it's
funny, but I
okay.
mean, this is something I can't answer this. This is one of my hiccups about
There's
the global Earth flat Earth thing because
there's nothing traveling that fast at 20,000 feet.
okay, how high would
Um,
it have to travel at that speed? Because I did look into it.
mhm.
I mean, I went right to the site, and it said that it can fly that fast in low. It can fly that fast in low orbit or in our atmosphere. That's what
Well,
it said. It told me that. And you can look it up. Look it up here. Fact check me while I'm
sure.
talking to you. It's okay.
Yeah, so the
Look that
atmosphere
up
is
for me,
a
will you?
the atmosphere is a real thing, right?
Yes.
So if you're traveling fast and you don't have something protecting you, you feel the wind of the atmosphere.
And that's the
Um,
friction. Exactly.
the ISS, for example, the International Space Station, is way higher than 20,000 feet up.
Oh, yeah, it's up there.
And so
I
they
think
they don't have
250 miles, right? I mean, I think it's 250 miles.
yeah, it's around there. And so they don't have this thick atmosphere to deal with, right? So they're not going to feel what you're claiming they're going to feel.
because they don't have the friction hitting them. Like if you're driving down the road in your car and you roll your window down and you put your hand out, you feel the friction, you feel the wind.
Right.
They don't have as much of that up at that height. And I
Yes.
think the ISS, what does it move at, like 17 or 20,000 miles per hour through space?
I think it's 17,500 miles per hour.
Okay.
Now, to give, just to explain the reality of the situation is if the ISS is real, then the videos that they have on YouTube, which are 24-hour live stream, just ignoring some of the, drops in transmission, you can see what they see as they're traveling in an
Okay.
orbit around the Earth.
Did you just say if the ISS is real? Are you questioning the ISS? Or
I'm not,
what's
but the
going on
flat
here?
Earth side does.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I believe the International Space Station can be up there, even whether it's a flat Earth or a global Earth. Either
Mm.
way, it could be up there. I mean, if they're saying that the firmament is that the moon, and I'm going back to this for just a minute, that if the moon is 250,000 miles away from Earth, I can tell you, what is that, about 1%? It's not even one. I mean, it's a percent of a percent. If you average the same distance at 250 miles an hour to 250,000 miles an hour.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's what is that, 1% of 1% of the distance? Would
Yeah.
have to be close.
Yeah.
Pull up
Here's,
do me a favor, pull up how low the space shuttle can fly in our atmosphere. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I think the important thing here is because, it's theoretically possible that there is a glass firmament over a sphere, right? So,
Oh yeah, it could be either way. Will, I mean,
yeah.
it could
So I
be
don't,
over a sphere, or it could be over a flat Earth. I mean, it could be
yeah.
either way.
So I don't
I
think
agree with that.
conversations about a firmament that has never been observed or touched and that can be tested is fruitful. The reason I created the final experiment as observing the sun in Antarctica is because I do think that that is definitive. And here's why. I also have a Gleason's map here with
Okay.
me.
Yeah. Oh, you got a flat Earth map, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so in the flat Earth model, the sun, travels around the entire world once per day, once every 24 hours. Okay?
Well, now hold on a minute. Now, are you saying on the flat Earth map or on the global map?
I'm saying on the flat Earth map, the
Okay, the flat.
sun,
Sorry. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Go
the,
ahead.
the, the sun every 24 hours makes a circuit, a circle.
Okay.
And and so for example, we are going to be in Antarctica down here.
Okay.
We are going to the southern tip of South America in Chile. We're all going to meet up there. We'll live stream together, flat earthers and globers. Then we're going to take a 4.5 hour flight south into Antarctica, deep into Antarctica.
Okay.
Now, Australia, which is way over here, is on the exact opposite side of the world on the flat earth map.
Right. I can see that.
Australia, every single day that we're in Antarctica, is going to have a sunrise and a sunset. And they're going to be lit up by the sun for some portion of the day. So down here, we can't have a sun circling above us for 5 days straight if the rest of the world is also going to have the sun.
Okay.
So I'm suggesting, and a lot of people agree with me, and flat earthers used to agree with me until I created this, that if there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, that this can't be our model. The Earth can't be flat. It's
Okay.
impossible.
And this has already happened, right? Is this something that happens every year in Antarctica? Will you get a 24-hour sun, a 24-hour day, or is this something that happens every 10,000 years?
No. So
Well,
if
because
the
I don't know. I'm asking. I really don't
it's
know.
fine. Yeah, if the globe model is right, then there's a 24-hour sun every year in the
Okay.
southern summer. Now, there are people who have said they've witnessed it. The flat earth side says they're lying. There are video recordings of the 24-hour sun. Flat earth side says that they're doctored, altered, fake CGI. And so I'm saying this, let's not take anybody's word for it anymore. Let's all go there together. There's 9 of us so far going to Antarctica together, three on the flat Earth side and 6 on the globe side. And we're all going to go see it and observe it for ourselves. And
Okay.
the globe side has said that if there's not a 24-hour sun when we go, if the sun rises and sets, the globe model is false. So the people on the globe side going, we're essentially going to become flat earthers while we are there if the sun is not just doing circles above our head all 5 days.
Or vice versa.
And well, no, vice versa. In my opinion, the flat earthers should do the same thing. They should
Well,
say,
they
hey,
should. Yeah.
if there's a 24-hour sun, the globe model's right, and we will say that we've been wrong about a flat earth.
Okay. And this has already been proven, correct? People have seen this. They've had videos of this, and
Well, again, yes, but the flat earth position currently is that the videos are fake and that the people are lying. And so the purpose of the final experiment is to say, okay, we're not going to take people's word for it anymore. We are going to take a group of us down there from both sides, have both sides represented, and we're going to do live streams and we're going to broadcast to the world what is actually happening.
okay. This is going to almost put Professor Dave out of business. He won't have anything to talk about.
Well, let me tell you something cool about Professor Dave. I'm going to give him a lot of credit right now. I know a lot of people don't like him. He said to me, and we have this recorded, and I will keep him accountable, that he said to me, Will, if there's not a 24-hour sun, I will delete all of my videos on my channel that go against Flat Earth.
Well, well, he sounds. I believe he would do that. I mean, he'd be smart to do it, but let's face it, we don't know until this happens, do we?
Right. And
But
the
we've
good
got the
news
proof.
is it's in just
And
a
well,
few
and the fact
weeks.
that, and the fact they have a pastor, they've got a preacher who we know is not going to lie. You're not going to lie. You're not going to say, "Oh, the sun shined if it went down 6 times." I mean, let's face it, you're not going to do that. So you're very
No.
credible, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, and it
So
will be
I have to
easy
believe you.
too. If one side wants to lie, it'll be easy to expose that by having both sides there. So for example, if somebody on the globe side, myself, wants to lie and say, nope, the sun has not set, but it's set and it's over Australia and we can't see it, then someone should turn on a video camera and say, Will, come on. You're not telling the truth. If you believe that the sun has not set, then go ahead and point to it right now, and I won't be able to point to a sun in the sky.
Okay.
And then vice versa. If a flat earther wants to lie and say, "Oh, the sun has set, we are victorious," then the globe side could just pull out a camera and say, "Hey, man, you're not being honest with us right now. Turn around, and there it is, right there. It's in the sky. It hasn't set."
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I would be very anxious to finally figure this one out. You know, like I said 8 months ago, I believed that the Earth was a globe. I just believed it. You know, now with all this talk and all this conversation and all these different ideas about everything, it's, your mind begins to wander a little bit. Hold on
Yeah.
for 1 second, please. What am I looking at here? How will they verify the actual location in Antarctica for this trip? Did you hear that?
Yeah. So that's been the number one question we've received. And there's multiple answers I have. One answer I have is we're going to be taking Garmin GPS units. So there's a YouTuber named Wolfie6020, and he bought 2 of them, one for each side, one for the Flat Earth team and one for the Globe team. So we're going to be using GPS to track our trip. Now, if somebody wants to think that the GPS units are lying to us, now it's not like we told Garmin
Right. Yeah,
who
they're
we were, right? These just came from the
right.
store. But it's going to be simple on both models, whether it's the globe model or the flat earth model, we will be able to verify. Here's where we're going to be right here. Like it says
Right.
Punta Arenas is right by Ushuaia. And so this is about
Okay.
as far south as you can go.
Okay.
So
I see.
when we are in Punta Arenas, Chile, we will live stream to prove to everyone that that's where we are. No one's going to disagree with this. The flat earthers on the trip are not going to disagree and think that they're somewhere else. So that's step one. Step two is we're going to get on a plane there and we're going to travel on about a 4.5 hour flight south. And we're going to end up somewhere that's snow and ice in all directions as far as the eye can see. Now, if we went north on the globe model instead of going south, we'd be headed towards the equator and it would be smoking hot wherever we go. So we
Right.
can't go north. Plus, we'd see all these lands that we'd be flying over as opposed to seeing the ocean down here, the Drake Passage.
Yeah.
If we went east or west, there's not land until you get to Africa or New Zealand, and those are about 10 to 12-hour flights. So there's nowhere we can get in 4 hours from the southern tip of South America on either model, um, or the flat Earth model here. I mean, look where we'd have to go to get to New Zealand or to get to Cape Town or whatever, South Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd have
South
to
Africa.
travel so far, and there'd be no snow and ice there. So we're literally just going south, and we're going to Union Glacier, Antarctica, which has mountains that you can go look at pictures of, and we will be able to live stream and show those mountains. So there's nowhere else we could be other than Antarctica.
Well, you're sure making a lot of sense to me right now. I can,
Awesome.
um, I'm not saying that I'm thoroughly convinced, but you've got a good argument. I
Yeah,
mean, you do.
and I don't expect you to be convinced until we do the experiment. So I wanted to connect with you to explain it to you, and then you can watch. I mean, you can still come if you want. There's still time to
Oh, was
sign.
there? I thought it was like a 2 or 3 month deal where you had to get approved. And well, you guys are part of a group, right? I mean, so it's yeah, the
Yeah,
group
if
has.
you want to go, I can help you. I can help expedite the process.
Yeah,
So
but like I told you a couple of days ago, I just wouldn't be able to make it because I need more
okay.
time than that to
It's okay.
things like this. Because if I go, I'm going to want to go and be gone for a while. I may not come back in 5 days. I may come back in 5 weeks.
I
I'm
get you.
really enjoy it.
So just watch. I will keep everybody updated through the YouTube channel. We will do live streaming while we're there, and then just kind of see what happens, and then you can make up your mind at that point.
Yeah, it sounds. I definitely want to see that.
Cool.
Not saying that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Not, oh, you better prove yourself or I don't believe it. It's like it would just be kind of cool to see that. I would love to see the sun shine for 24 hours straight. I've never seen that. I mean, this eclipse we recently had kind of blew my mind a little bit. I'm in the middle of work and I look up at the sky and it's dark and I mean, it was kind of, I mean, to me, it was kind of cool, right? But it was
Yeah.
very different. It was very eerie to me, but it was cool at the same time.
It's neat.
Um,
So Rob, I appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely, me too. Me
And
as
again, what I love about this is this is just science in action. Make a prediction, test it, observe it, see if your prediction was right. That's what we're doing.
Let me ask you this, and by no means, and this is not for argument's sake at all. Okay, so don't take this the wrong way. But I've been hearing quite a bit about. Now I've heard people say, "Well, I mean, what if they have an extra sun? What if they put something in the sky? What if they?" Okay, yeah, and I laugh the way you are right now, but then all of a sudden I've got to crease my eyebrows and I've got to get a little serious because I know that China right now is working on a sun, and they don't have it up and going, but they've done tests with it. Okay, and they say that they'll have it available and ready by 2035. I
Mm.
don't know if you've heard about that. I mean, a lot of people have, but when somebody brought that up to me, I said, "No, I don't think the sun in China is ready yet. I think they're still working on that." But you're always going to have skeptics, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's always that. Oh, well, what about this or what about that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's
The
anything in today's world, anything's basically possible. Okay. And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that China is working on a sun. They're going to have their own sun. And there are people who believe that, well, maybe China's involved in this. And I'm speaking for other people. I'm not speaking for me. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, it's just, for me, is it possible? Well, I mean, I don't know how they can make a sun, but I guess if they're making a sun, I guess they're going to have to do something with it. But do I think that it's part of a hoax with you guys? No, not at all. not at all. But there are people who it's crossed their mind. I mean, they've brought that up to me, and I've defended your side on that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You think they could put a second sun up there? It's going to shine the whole time. What about the real sun? You're going to see two suns at once. How does
Right.
that? You
Yeah,
know what I
see,
mean? So
you're thinking about this right. If someone's worried there's going to be foul play, it doesn't help to complain about it. What helps is to make your concern and your worry public, and then make demands of me to make sure that it doesn't happen. That
right,
is the proper way in dealing with something like this. And so, if someone thinks that there's going to be a second sun or a fake sun, great. Let's talk about the ramifications of that. And let's make sure that everybody that's going is prepared. So, for example, as you just said, we will see the real sun. So then that means there's going to be a second sun. If there's
right,
two suns, guess what? That's funny business. The globe model doesn't predict two suns. Flat Earth model doesn't predict two suns. And so that would not that would be very obvious to expose,
yeah,
right?
it
Number
would from both
two,
sides.
number two, the actual sun, the real sun, the only sun that's ever been observed, when you look at it with a solar filter, it has sunspots on it. And
Yeah,
those sunspots change, and the sun actually rotates. And so you can see the sunspots move ever so slightly throughout a day. So we will be able to take pictures of the sun while we're in Antarctica, and there'll be other people in other parts of the world taking pictures of the sun. And we'll be able to compare those pictures and be like, hey, we were all looking at the same sun. It wasn't a fake sun.
I agree, Joseph. I agree with that. There's no way around that one. It is what it
Yeah.
is, right? Um, okay. I had a few other questions, but some of these questions would have been aimed more towards Professor Dave.
Well,
But
I'll do this. I will make him aware of our talk.
absolutely.
I'll share it with him. I can't make him watch it, but if he watches it and he wants to connect with you, I will connect the two of you, okay?
Oh, give him my number. Ask him to call me anytime. I
Okay.
was watching this video this morning, the video with you guys, and I'm like, God, this guy's unbelievable. I can't believe some of the things he's saying. He's all the name calling. He's like, oh, what is it with this guy? But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I guess that's just his personality. But
Yeah.
he now he is going on the trip, right? Didn't he change his mind and now he's going? I think I heard he's going.
He wishes he was going. He has actually some regret not getting involved more early on. There's a lot of Daves, and so there is a Dave going, but it's not
Oh, there's a lot
Professor
of Daves.
Dave. It's
Yeah.
Dave McKeegan. Uh, Dave Weiss is not going.
Now he
He,
turned it down, right? Didn't Dave Wise
yeah,
turn it down?
yeah,
I
he
wonder why he
did.
turned it down. What was his reason for turning it down? He was the first to get picked, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah, his reason was that my friends are demons.
Well, I mean, that's Dave.
And he has doubled down on that reasoning, and he actually says that I'm a demon now. I'm going to be
Oh no, that's
releasing
no, I don't agree
a
with you.
video about Dave
Well,
Weiss in the next few weeks.
well, quite honestly, you know, I'll tell you how I look at things. If I thought that all your friends were demons and you being a pastor, I would say that uh, Pastor Willis put himself in a very good place to get these people on a better path in life. I wouldn't say I'm not going because he surrounds himself with demons. And the last thing I would do is call you a demon. I mean, you would have to be the exact opposite of that. You
Yeah,
know, um,
you're a very logical person.
I don't have a lot of respect for David Weiss, Flat Earth Dave. I mean, when I watched his conversation with Professor Dave, he didn't impress me at all. I know that he was allowed to go on Roseanne Barr. Is that correct? I think it
Mhm.
was more of a sympathy call than it was anything because I think she just felt sorry for him. He doesn't make a lot of sense when he talks. He's not very clear on what he's saying. But let me ask you this question as a for a global Earth model. Now they say that the Earth will that every mile the Earth curves 8 inches. Have you heard that?
Yeah, that's not exactly accurate, but yeah, I have heard of the 8 inches per mile squared
Well,
formula.
I mean, I've heard the 8 inches per mile. Then I've heard 2,000 feet per 2 miles. I mean, you hear different things, right?
Mhm.
But when they did that test, where they set a camera up on one side of, I think it was Lake Michigan or Lake Erie, and they set a camera up on the opposite side, a couple of 100 miles away or so. And they set the cameras the same distance off the sand from 200 miles away from each other. Okay. So if this one was 4 feet off the water, on the other side, it was 4 feet off the water. Okay. Now I understand surveying and how it works. So it's one of the things I do for a living. Um, but when each camera was aiming directly towards each other, there wasn't even a fraction of an inch off. I mean, they were within tolerance, within a half an inch in that distance, looking directly at each other. Now, if it's 200-mile stretch, the curvature of the Earth, I would have thought, well, there's got to be at least maybe 20 feet. I mean, there's got to be some kind of a difference there. But then they were shooting people, and this part didn't really matter to me because on the other sides of each lake, the elevations are going to be different when they put buildings in. This elevation is going to be higher because of floodplains and that kind of thing. So I didn't really go with the elevation of the buildings. I went with the elevation of the water. Everybody wants to use the elevation of the buildings. Well, the buildings are built at different elevations. It's like your home, for instance, in my home, they're built on different elevations according to floodplains and things of that nature. But the water deal is what kind of threw me off a little bit because water is supposed to sit level. Now, I know they say we've got a curvature in the earth, but on the lake sides, on a lake, from a couple 100 miles away from one to the other, each camera was shooting within a foot of elevation towards each other, and they were set the same distance off the water. How do they explain that on a global
So I'm not familiar with that. You should send that to me so I could look at it.
Okay.
I do have my own doubts that the cameras were 4 feet above the water level and were 200 miles away.
Okay.
But I'm open to looking at it. What I would suggest is I'm trying to change the debate. I'm trying to change how the two sides interact with one another. That's the spirit of TFE. And so, what I'd suggest is if anybody's going to do something like this in the future, work together, both sides, globe side, flat earth
Absolutely.
side, work together,
Absolutely. Yeah.
make
Absolutely.
predictions, and then go together and test them. There's getting to Antarctica is very difficult because it's expensive.
Yes, it is.
But getting to Lake Michigan is easy. And so you should have dozens of people from each side going there, performing this together. And then that way we don't have these claims from each side that the other side is
Well,
misinterpreting the
really,
results or lying or whatever.
whether the Earth is a globe or whether the Earth is a flat Earth, either way, it should never be a yelling argument. It should be something fun that we talk about, something like you and I are. I mean, I know I'm enjoying the conversation. I hope you are too. But it should never be finger pointing and I'm right and you're wrong and vice versa. It should be, hey, let's go take a couple of cameras. You go to one side of Lake Michigan. I'll be on the other side. You set your camera up. I'll set my
Yes.
camera up.
Yes.
We'll get that thing, that app you can buy, and I'll make sure that you're setting your camera at 3 feet and I'm setting my camera at 3 feet. And it's just, it's an experiment.
Hmm.
I'm not going to look at a lake. Like I live on a lake here in Capel, Texas. I mean, it's not a big, it's maybe a 20-acre lake.
Mm.
I never look at that and say, well, I mean, this is going to, you see the guys that have the glass of water, the swimming pool, the little lake, the pond, and those don't make any sense to me because there's no way you could look at it that way because the ground is built up. Anytime they build a subdivision, they put a lake in it. They're always going to manipulate the earth around it to keep water either draining to it or to keep the homes high enough where the lake doesn't overflow and flow into the homes. You know what I mean? I think the Army
Yeah.
Corps of Engineers has a lot to do with that. But no, I think it's a great conversation. I enjoy it. I mean, am I a global earther? I lean that way. Am I a flat earther? I could see where it makes sense in some cases. I mean, if I had to pick a side now, I don't know what I would say. That's being very honest with you.
Hey, that's all right. I've got to
Very
run, but in just a few short weeks, you will have what I think will be solid evidence to help you make your decision. Okay?
well. Hopefully, we can follow up on Zoom and do this again.
Would love to. Thanks,
Hey,
Rob.
thank you very much. You have a good evening. Okay.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
See you later, brother.